you, like Jennifer, you found it to be calming, relaxing, it helped you. Am I correct in that? Wonderful. Anybody else want to say something about this? You don't have to.
Can I say something about her fear of being out of control?
I mean, we don't want to, I mean, everybody is legitimate for feeling whatever they want, but...
I agree with her, is that when it was first proposed to me, that was my biggest fear.
Exactly.
You think of Las Vegas and then...
That's exactly it. That's exactly it.
And that was something I really had to move away from.
Excellent.
Was that fear.
Mm-hmm.
And it does happen. It does, you do move away from it as you learn about it more. Because you are in control. And it takes control to do it. Because it's not like someone controls it, you control it as you need it.
I think I better go sit down and you can come here and explain. No, but you've done an amazing job. But you've done it because you've said all the right things.
That's my understanding. So.
No, but you've mentioned all the right things because you're absolutely right. And so the problem with hypnosis is the fact that I would dare to say that among the other therapeutic modalities, I think that hypnosis is the one that suffered from the most negative advertisement, and everybody, when they hear about hypnosis the first time, it immediately, it's the Las Vegas shows, and people going on stage and quacking like ducks and doing all these weird stuff. And so there's a lot of misconceptions about what is it, what hypnosis is, what is it not, what does it do? Should I be afraid of it? Am I going to lose control? Is someone going to do something to me and won't be able to resist? So this is exactly why I'm here, to kind of refute some of these misconceptions and talk a little bit about what is hypnosis, what are those misconceptions, what is right, what is wrong, and so forth. And again, if there's something that is not clear, please stop me and I'll make myself hopefully clearer. So, first of all, what is hypnosis? The short answer is I don't know, because the thing is that no one really knows what exactly hypnosis is. And even the famous hypnotherapist Milton Erickson, which he did hypnosis for mostly all of his life, and at the end of his career, he said, now I think I'm starting to get the hang of what hypnosis is. He was right, because it's a complex phenomena. No one really understands what that is, but there are things that we can say about hypnosis, and even though there's a lot of theories involved, there are some definitions that are related to that state of hypnosis. So first of all, the word hypnosis comes from the Greek word hypnos, which is sleep. However, hypnosis is not an actual state of sleeping. You don't sleep under hypnosis, and if you do fall asleep, that's pretty much where hypnosis ends. So it does come from the word hypnos, and it was coined by James Braid, who was a very famous neurosurgeon. And pretty much hypnosis is a state of mind of deep relaxation and focusing on a specific task to the exclusion of other things. Pretty much in hypnosis, what is happening is that the theory is that we have the conscious mind, where we all are aware. We're aware that we're in this room. We're aware that we're wearing the clothes that we're wearing, who we are, where we live, and so forth. And we have the subconscious or unconscious mind. And between the conscious and unconscious mind, we have the critical factor. The critical factor is that boundary that filters information from the conscious mind to reach the subconscious mind. So for example, if I'm going to say, I don't know, I'm just taking you for example, I love your purple hair. Okay? She's going to smile and look at me. Oh, this guy's crazy. I don't have purple hair. Because what I've done, I've said something. She knows that this is incorrect. So her conscious mind was able to pretty much reject what I've said. No, I don't have purple hair. However, I'm going to say, you're in the migraine clinic. Her facial expression changed and she's nodding, okay? Because that information bypassed the critical factor and she's agreeing with that. What we do in hypnosis is we pretty much assist the individual to bypass the critical factor so that suggestions would be approved and accepted by the individual for the purposes of healing. And that's hypnotherapy. Hypnosis is the state. When we utilize that state to actually access and do a process of therapy, this is where we call it hypnotherapy. Also, when the critical factor is bypassed, we're able to allow information from inside ourselves that is not readily available to us to come to the surface from the subconscious mind to our conscious mind. So memories, sensations, thoughts, things that we probably, it was somewhere back there, as we say, in the back of our mind, and you know, the term is pretty much in our subconscious mind. All that material can rise up and get to the conscious mind, and that's where hypnosis comes. Hypnosis comes in order to allow the individual to work with those material. Now, what I want to emphasize, and if you don't remember anything from that lecture, that's fine. I do hope that you'll remember that thing, is that hypnosis is a natural state of mind. Everybody can enjoy hypnosis. Everybody can learn, as we've heard it, it's a skill. Everybody can enjoy and experience hypnosis, and it's a natural state of mind. And basically, we all go through hypnosis during our daily lives. For example, how many of you had an experience of reading a book that was so interesting that you just were so captivated and you were just reading and reading, it was so interesting, and someone was calling your name and you didn't even hear? Or all of a sudden you looked at the clock and wow, 3 hours already. I thought it was just 5 minutes or half an hour, only 3 hours, because I was so immersed in that book. Or maybe a movie. I'm seeing a movie and it's so intriguing and so interesting, and I'm just so focused on the movie. And time just flies by and I'm not even aware of that. Or how many people went into their car and they started driving, and they were so preoccupied with something, either work or their spouse or significant other or kids or whatever, and they got home and they were like, oh geez, I don't remember even driving. I know I drove, I know that I put myself in the car, but I don't remember the way. I was somewhere else. Anybody has ever experienced something of that nature? That's hypnosis, pretty much. It's a natural state that we all go in. The utilization of that state for healing purposes is the form of hypnotherapy. Now, another important thing is that everybody can experience that, but of course, research indicates that there are different levels of what we call hypnotizability. So it's like a skill, it's like a talent. Some people are wonderful at playing the piano, and they're like, Mozart. And some people are not. So similar to that, hypnotizability is a skill that some people are at the end of the spectrum. They're like phenomenal in it. They can just immediately get hypnotized. And there are some people who they just, no matter what you do, it doesn't faze them. Most of us are somewhere in between those extremes. And why that important? It's because most of us, even if we're not Mozart, most of us can learn to play a tune if we want, or fiddle in the piano, or take some lessons, or something. The same with hypnosis. It's a skill, and if someone wants to, they could learn the skill, benefit from it, and pretty much enjoy the benefits of it, because there's a lot of benefits to hypnosis. I don't know if does that all make sense to everybody in here? Is there anything that it's okay? All right, wonderful. The other thing I wanted to talk about is specifically, and I'm very happy that you mentioned about the control, because there's a lot of misconceptions about hypnosis, as I mentioned, and a lot of people don't know that this is pretty much a natural state of mind that everybody can go in and out of. Also, very importantly, everybody can resist. The idea is that there is no magical power to the hypnotherapist who kind of like can zap someone and they can do whatever they want. If it would have been the case, I would have had $10 million in the bank and I would be in Tahiti right now, and I can assure you I don't have $10 million in my bank, and I'm here. So hypnotherapists don't have any magical powers, okay? The simple idea is that every hypnosis is self-hypnosis. One can give a suggestion, and the person who's receiving hypnosis can either reject it, which is fine, or can accept it and utilize it for their benefit. That's all that is. Now, in terms of misconceptions, there are several things that I wanted to say about misconceptions. There are several things especially that I'm hearing that it's very important to me, especially sitting in here, to make sure that at least people get out with the right information. So the first thing that I'm asked is, can everybody be hypnotized? And I always say, if they want to, because hypnosis is a voluntary process. If someone doesn't want to be hypnotized, usually no matter what I'll do, he won't get hypnotized. If someone wants to resist, they can resist. But if someone has an issue and they come to me with a problem, they can resist, but I'm not sure it's going to work for them in terms of helping their problem. So resistance is definitely fine and acceptable, and if someone resists, then no, then he can be hypnotized. But if someone allows that to happen, then yes, they can certainly be hypnotized. So can everybody be hypnotized? If they want to. Now, yes, as I mentioned about hypnotizability, some people, it's easier for them, and they have higher ability to be hypnotized, and some people less. But most of us are lying somewhere on the spectrum that we can enjoy and benefit from hypnosis. So that's the first thing. Another thing that I'm hearing is that people say, oh, I'm so afraid of, that this hypnosis, I don't want to lose control, or maybe under hypnosis I might say something that I don't want to say, or maybe I'm going to do something that I don't want to do, and can someone really hypnotize someone to kill other people? So there's a lot of information, a lot of research about that hypnosis, first of all, is a voluntary procedure. So every hypnosis is self-hypnosis. So I can't hypnotize anybody. I can give suggestions, and it's the role of the people that wants to be hypnotized to use the suggestions and actually work with them. That is self-hypnosis. If they don't do it, there's nothing I can do. So every hypnosis is self-hypnosis. Now about control. It is true that once we bypass the critical factor, people can do things that they normally wouldn't anticipate them to do. For example, changes in bodily sensation, changes in anesthesia. For example, if someone wants to numb their hand if it hurts, that's possible. If someone wants to decrease their heart rate or breath rate or increase the temperature of their skin, that's all possible under hypnosis. However, if I tell someone to go take a gun and kill someone, if it's not in line with their value system, research has indicated that no hypnosis can make someone do something if it's not in line with their value system. Okay? So, yes and no. Yes, we can do things that we didn't anticipate us to do. But no, we can't do something that is against our value system. Does that all make sense? Does that maybe help a little bit clarify things and kind of reduce the anxiety about hypnosis? A bit.
Yeah.
A bit, okay. Another thing that I want to talk about is the fact that people that come to hypnosis sometimes think that they're going to stay stuck in it. So under hypnosis, I might get stuck. I might not come out of it. Then what's going to happen? So basically, deep hypnosis is someone that goes to sleep. Once you go to sleep, hypnosis is over. So similar to not being able to wake up from sleep, one cannot readily get stuck in hypnosis. It doesn't happen. There is one case that I know from the country, as a matter of fact, that I came from, which is Israel, that there was one case that there was a stage hypnotist and he put someone on stage and she pretty much didn't want to come out. The explanation is that when you go into the deep levels of hypnosis, some states, which are called the Esdale state, are so relaxing and so peaceful. It's like you're in such serenity that you just don't want to come up. I want to stay here. I want to stay in this state. I'm not coming out. So in that case, she had the option to stay there. But of course, it's not that someone couldn't get her out. And once something else happened, they got her out, and then she reported, oh, it was just so peaceful, and I just wanted to stay there. So you can get stuck in hypnosis. Any other questions or anything about what I've said up to this point? Feel free to ask or comment, because I don't want it to be like a monologue and I'm just, talking and everybody are, falling asleep or getting hypnotized.
On that
Yes.
one,
Yeah.
From experience, I can say that sometimes when life is
does not reside in the affected organ. So if I hurt my knee or my finger, pain maybe start there, but the perception of pain is in our brains. The information comes from the periphery to our mind, but the mind itself is what perceives the sensation to be painful. Perceptions in hypnosis can be changed. I can create anesthesia, what is called hypnoanesthesia. That is a possible thing. The idea is that we all have these experiences inside us, and what hypnosis does, it accesses those experiences and gets us to experience them again. So for example, if I'm going to ask any of you, like I'm going to do kind of like, I'm going to talk about something else for now. Did anybody have an experience that they were watching a movie or reading a book that was so funny that they couldn't stop laughing? They were just laughing hysterically and they couldn't stop. And people talked to them, they couldn't stop laughing. They just laughed and laughed. They were almost on the floor. They couldn't stop. Some of you are smiling. Why? Because I mentioned something and that accessed some resource inside of you, something that happened. That's all hypnosis does. It accesses resources inside of ourselves and bring it to the conscious awareness. Is there a video or a movie right now? No. Am I saying something funny? I hope not. Maybe I am. But the idea is that through the use of language, through the use of suggestions, we can make changes to physiology and to experience by accessing states that normally are not there. Right now, we're not in a movie. We're not seeing, beside me, that I might be funny, but we're not seeing anything funny. So by using the words, I accessed the state. People started smiling. That's all hypnosis does. So accessing a state is one thing. Changing the sensory phenomena is another. Because some of us might have been to the dentist. Some of us maybe gotten lidocaine. We know that feeling when the side of our mouth is like really, really numb, and when we can move it and it kind of feels funny. Or maybe another example. If we take a bucket filled with ice and cold water, and we take a fist and we put the fist inside that bucket of water. If anybody tried that or have a sense of that, this is one of the things that when people use words and suggestions to induce a state inside the individual. Using language and inducing state, we can change perception, we can change sensory phenomena, and thereby working on pain, for example, or anything else. Now, in terms of hypnosis, there are several ways, but I want to talk about two ways that hypnosis can be done. Most hypnotists, what they do is pretty much symptom removal, meaning that if I have pain, I'm going to go to a hypnotherapist, and I'm going to get into this wonderfully relaxed state, and I'm going to be under, and I'm going to get suggestions to change the sensation of pain. And that's possible, and it works, and there's a lot of research on it, and that's fine, and that's wonderful. But that's another thing that I want to talk about, is this is only one facet of hypnosis, because another facet is to actually identify whether there's an initial sensitizing event that is correlated with the experience of the pain or whatever problem is it that I'm coming to the hypnotherapist with. For that, what is done is hypnotic regression work. And what is happening is that people access information, memories, things that occurred to them that might be related to the current event. It might not seem at first as relevant, but this is another thing that happens in hypnosis. As I mentioned, under hypnosis, the critical factor is bypassed. So I can get suggestions in, and I could get someone to accept suggestions that normally they might not accept them, but I can also access information from within the individual, such as repressed memories, repressed emotions, and so forth. And this is another important facet because some hypnotherapists also use those techniques to help people with coping with whatever is it that they're coping. In some cases, and I want to emphasize, only in some cases, sometimes there is an initial sensitizing event or something that happened in the past that is related to the current problem. Just by giving positive suggestions, I might help the person, but sometimes it is better to actually access that event, bring it to awareness, and work with that event. This is less common when we talk about hypnotherapy, but it's another modality. It's called hypnotic regression work. That is another modality that is available. And personally, when I'm working with some migraine people that would like to do that, it is possible to access those memories that might be related to the development of migraines in their lives. What is better? I don't know. There is no better. It all depends on what the person is willing to do or go with. But hypnotic regression work is another modality, is another facet of hypnosis that most people don't know about. It's not common. Most people don't talk about, but I wanted all of you to know that it's another possibility. But if I'm already talking about regression work, what I also want to emphasize is the phenomena of false memories. And this is something that is extremely important. And before I do regression work, or if any of you would ever go to a hypnotherapist that is doing regression work, it is very important for you to know about the phenomena of false memories. Why? Because as I mentioned with hypnosis, we have a bypass of the critical factor. What does that mean? That under hypnosis, I am in control, but I'm more open to accepting suggestions that normally I would not accept or believe. So, if someone is not careful, he might help me believe things that normally I would not have believed. When we access memories, especially repressed emotions, repressed memories, if people, especially if the therapist is not careful enough, we can believe things that didn't necessarily happen. This is the syndrome of false memories. And this is very important that if anybody would ever go to do regression work, they would take that in consideration. Whenever we access a memory, it is always on the spectrum of 100% truth and 100% fantasy. We're always somewhere in between. And when we keep accessing memories, sometimes when we access them over and over, we change them a bit. When we do that under hypnosis and people are not careful enough, we might get information about things that happened that didn't necessarily happen. This is very important, and this is the syndrome of false memories. These are cases that occurred that people that did hypnosis that didn't exactly know what they're doing, were leading the people to believe things that happened that didn't necessarily happen. Something important about hypnosis, that hypnosis is not a truth serum. Up to this point, hypnosis is not valid in court. So I can say as much as I want, oh, I put her under hypnosis and she said this and this and that. It's not a truth serum. Because whenever we retrieve a memory, it's always going to be some type of fact and some kind of fantasy. So it's not a truth serum, but under this relaxed state of mind, sometimes we are more malleable for distorting what happened. Why am I saying that? Because Hypnotic regression work is a wonderful tool. It is very helpful. It is very cathartic when people have repressed emotions and they didn't even know that they were there, and all of a sudden it comes to the surface and they start crying and yelling and screaming or laughing on the other hand. This also happens when you bypass the critical factor. So these are all very therapeutic, and it's also under the umbrella of hypnosis, but it's also important to know that when doing that procedure, one needs to know that false memories is a real phenomena. Any questions or anything about that aspect? So, are we stepping into your time already, or yeah? A couple of minutes. Okay. Well, I'm just going to wrap it up. So, generally, I just wanted to give you some taste. I mean, again, I could talk for days about hypnosis. We wouldn't want that, trust me. But I just wanted to give you some information and a taste of what hypnosis is, what hypnosis isn't. Generally, it is accepted to be a very safe modality, very effective modality that very much helps pain phenomena, migraine phenomena, and releasing a lot of kind of pent up memories and emotions. But of course, like everything, it has its dangers, and one of them is what I mentioned about false memories. I gave you a little bit of an example with the light hand and heavy hand, just to give you a snippet of what can be done with hypnosis. And basically, the tool is useful to help people cope and change sensations, emotions, behaviors, and so forth. Before I conclude, are there any questions or anything about anything that I've said tonight? Yes.
So you're having a migraine.
Yes.
You can, if you're good at this, basically convince yourself not to feel the pain?
So it's not necessarily about convincing. It's first of all, it's about having a sensation and being able to alter it. However, I want to emphasize that hypnosis is not necessarily done while I'm having a migraine. I can also, usually when I do hypnosis or when I work with someone under hypnosis, I can suggest something that whenever you feel that something might come, it will dissipate. So you're not getting to the full-blown attack. That's another option. There's a lot of variability, and in 1 hour there's a very much of a limit of how much I can talk about this. But one of the things to answer your question is that if you're using self-hypnosis, you can have the ability to alter sensations. You can give it a metaphor. So something I've done with someone that actually had a migraine attack is to actually alter the pain. Pain has all sorts of components to it. It has a sensory component. It has a visual component. Some people visualize it. I remember I had a client that said it's like a dark rim that is across my forehead. I was like, okay, can you make that dark rim maybe lighter? Can you make it fluffier? Can you maybe color it orange? Or have a texture of cotton candy? Does it have a sound to it? Can you change the sound? And so forth and so forth and so forth. There's a lot of ways to work with migraine. That's just a snippet of it. But you can alter sensations. Sometimes during migraine, sometimes it doesn't happen with a migraine, but sometimes you can do that before a migraine occurs. Does that answer your question, or somewhat? Do you have any other question or about that, or?
I can see it would be easier to prevent rather than in a full-blown try to not experience pain.
Depends on the individuals. I mean, it all depends on the case. Sometimes you're right that it might be easier to prevent. Sometimes when you feel that it's coming, it might be easier to do something about it, have it dissipate. I'm taking Micah's time, so if there are any other last question or anything? If you have any questions, I have the flyers and my card on the table. If there's anything I can do to help any of you, please don't hesitate, okay? I hope you enjoyed this evening, and thank you very much.